first one was just so good.
We got
Come
it back.
on back. Once again, Captain Fuzzy's back again on a Friday night, hanging out here at Southern Draw. Captain McDonald, we're just here to have some fun again.
Great to be with my bros here.
Yeah, man.
The captain's corner.
Back at it.
Yeah.
So, the stories just they kept going, so we didn't cover a lot of more cool stuff that you've been involved in, and thank you for coming back.
Oh, listen, hey, totally my pleasure.
Awesome.
Glad to be here at Southern Draw. What a great shop! Just amazing all the tackle and clothing that's in this store. It's really great.
It's good to have their hospitality.
Yeah.
Got a chance just before we start, Captain McDonald's new boat out there, Hilton Head Inshore Charters, correct?
sir.
Add on Instagram. Fantastic. Got the first couple reds on it.
Yeah.
Man, congratulations. You
It
got a
was
great
awesome.
future
Going
ahead of
back,
you, man.
yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Good going. Great
So-
boat.
Man, let's pop right into it.
Okay.
This is the one I really want to know, and we've talked on the first one, just your generosity to people and stuff, but your charity. Tell the folks out there the name of your charity, how it began, because it's such a great event. I think I've done 4 or 5 of
Yeah,
them.
you have.
And but how long has it been going on?
Okay, Kim and I started a fishing day for special needs kids about, I guess it was about almost 30 years ago.
That's cool.
And it's just been a real blessing. And you fished it. All the captains that fish in this event come back after the event and they go, just put me down for next year.
Absolutely.
Everybody has they gain so much out of it. It's just a real rewarding event. But what we started doing, and I met with Rose Fodia with the Children's Relief Foundation, and I came up with the concept. And Rose said, "Okay, let's try it." So we had a small group of special needs kids that were involved with the Children's Relief Fund and the foundation, and met with some like Kathy Kramer, some of the local teachers that were involved, that are still involved in the community. And what a supportive, incredible community that we have here for special needs kids and adults on Hilton Head. PEPS is another one, Programs for Exceptional People. Carol Bartholomew just started Pockets Full of Sunshine. There's a lot of outreach. There's a lot of places for these special needs kids and adults to go. But that being said, so we started with a small group, and what we did is we had local charter boats donate their time, and we had them half a day, or we had a half a day to do it. We'd have them fishing for about 2 hours, come back in. The boathouse does a great picnic for us. We usually have live entertainment or something.
They got the pavilion now out there.
Yeah,
which
they
is
got the
fantastic,
pavilion.
too. Yeah.
And I tell you what, when you see the smiles that these kids have on their faces,
It's awesome.
and we always have one of their parents go with them, it's just so rewarding. I mean, it's just magical. And to tell you the truth, I mean, I wish I could take them every day, because what they're seeing, what they're doing, a lot of them, it's the first time they've ever gone, and it's really not about the catch. It's not about the catch at all. It's
They're
about
always super excited.
It's about just being out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
We've had kids say, "Listen, we don't want to catch anything. We just want to see a dolphin, and we just want to drive them out." And so it's everywhere from that. We've caught every species in this 2-hour event. We haven't caught a tarpon yet. We've been close.
Let's do it this year.
We haven't been
Let's do
close.
It's a little later this year, right?
Yeah, we've been close, but we've had lots of bull reds. I think we even had a king mackerel. We've had Spanish mackerel. We've had cobia. My first trip, we doubled up. How crazy is we had?
Really? Was it always in the fall like that? And you still got the
Yeah,
cobia?
we had 2 cobia in the mouth of the May River.
No kidding.
I've never
Wow.
caught them since. So, Lord gave them to us
Yeah,
that day.
absolutely.
Yeah. But it's just been amazing, and the kids have a great time. Like we say, the boathouse has been so good to us with the picnic that they do. It's a great event.
Was it something? I know you started it, but what got you? What idea? What light bulb came off to go that route on the mission and the charity, basically?
Yeah, I felt like it was called to do something in the fishing related sport that was an outreach. And actually, my cousin, we were talking about her earlier. You know, she had MS. She could never get out on a boat, but I always wished I could have gotten her out there. You know, as a young child, and we could have had you know, some great experience. But anyhow, so it just kind of fell into place, and the community, special needs community, 100% behind it. We've grown from like 2 or 3 boats that we had in our first one. I think we had 30 boats the last couple of years.
Yeah, wasn't this past year
Big
like
fleet,
really
big
big?
fleet of it.
60 or so special needs children and adults. What's amazing is we started off with you know, some of the kids that were in it were like five years old. Timmy Hall he fished with me on that first trip where we caught those cobia. And he's now a young man. He's about I'd say he's 25, pushing 30.
That's so
You know,
cool.
so when I say special needs kids and adults, a lot of these kids started with us,
just
and
keep
now
going.
they're adults. But they're also there's a lot of programs that take care and educate and stay with these kids all the way through. It's just not a school thing.
That's
you know?
incredible.
Like Pockets Full of Sunshine,
Yeah.
They're teaching the kids how to silk screen, how to do crafts, how to, you know, silk screen T-shirts. They show up at a lot of the events that we have on the island and sell their goods. So it's great. It's been a blessing, and we're just happy we can give back. That's
Well, I
really
mean,
amazing.
Sign me up.
Yeah,
You got it.
definitely a tribute to you, and I think for everybody out there that listens to this, it doesn't have to be that. There's a lot of charities on this island that
Sure.
we know of, and one thing about our community, we've seen it come together pretty
Exactly.
amazing,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, as a small community. The one of the cool things, so when COVID hit, you know, we had to stop it on a break. Was there a point where you're thinking maybe that was it, or were you gonna just wait? Or we didn't know, did
Yeah,
we?
we didn't know.
And then when did you make that decision? Like, oh, let's go for this thing.
Yeah, well, you know, I kept having parents and kids. You know, I'd see them and when's Fish with Friends this year? You know, so hey, we're going. So, but we had not only COVID the year that we before COVID, we had a huge tropical storm.
That's right.
So we had to pull the plug on it.
That's right.
And you know, to the participants, they don't understand when we can't do it. A lot of them don't. So we hate that we have to do it, but every once in a while we have to. But we've been going for about 30 years.
That's
That's
so
amazing.
awesome, man.
We're ready next year, man.
And man, it's just got a
Yeah.
lot. You brought the energy back. It's always
Yeah.
good too. Not only there's always a little side stuff with captains. We want to
Oh,
we
yeah,
want to
that's
represent,
right,
like you
yeah.
say, the Redfish, the cobia,
Yeah.
and all that. So congratulations on
Thank
that,
you.
and I
Thank you.
appreciate being a part of it. And
Yeah.
hopefully now,
Yeah, I'll do
if
it
there's
this
a new
year for
captain
sure.
you're in too.
Oh yeah. Get the
Then
new boat in there.
keeping on that same stuff, you're quite the musician. You've played a long time, so just give us a brief, like, where'd that come? Childhood?
Yeah, childhood. I was raised in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's just like if you are born in or if you're raised in Tennessee, you don't play an instrument. You're like
What's wrong with
you're
you?
out of there. So anyhow, I started playing drums when I was in middle school in Nashville, and you know, played with some long-haired rock bands growing up and whatnot. But I always wanted to learn hand percussion, congas, that kind of thing. And I met up with a friend of mine. He became a great friend of mine, Juan Buzo, and he's a trained percussionist from Mexico. And so I spent a long time with Juan learning the right rhythms, the techniques, and all that kind of stuff. And then ended up playing with a little band with him for a while, and then John Brackett,
Ooh, they don't make
Johnny
it.
B.
There's
man.
a good name
The one
right
and
there.
only.
The one and only.
I give that guy a shout out to John Brackett. Probably, well, you're the nicest guy, but he's got to be right there
Well,
with you.
there's
Amazing
nothing.
human being.
MacGyver, he is
He
MacGyver.
can do anything.
There's nothing he can't do. Every time I play with him at Redfish, but this little sidebar on John Brackett, he'll start talking, and somebody at a table will say, "Is there anything that guy doesn't do? Or can't do? He can fix anything. He's a car mechanic, boat mechanic. He's a diver.
He's a diver.
He teaches parasailing,
Photographer.
hang gliding, photographer. I mean, it just goes on and on. Anyhow, John
And
Brackett.
don't you? And when you talk to John Brackett, I mean, you light up.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like you've known him forever. He is the sweetest person. One of the sweetest persons I've ever met. In my
Yeah,
life.
he's an amazing
guy.
person.
So yeah.
So he asked me very kindly. He was very nice to ask me if I'd play with his jazz band one night over at Redfish. So I sat in and had a blast and it's just it's an amazing group of musicians. Really good, really good,
They kill it.
really good jazz musicians from Savannah and Hilton Head. And I was fortunate enough to play with them. And then the next week, John said, I said, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, I'll see you later. And Johnny said, well, you got to come back next week. I said, oh, wow. This is getting exciting now.
That's awesome.
So, but anyhow, he's a great guy. I've learned a lot from him. He's a good conguero, too. He's a good conga player.
Oh, is he really?
That's another thing he does.
Oh, gosh. I mean,
You
his
know.
piano play
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
second to none. He plays at St. Luke's
Yeah.
for us at
Yeah,
the church.
that's right,
show.
yeah.
I mean, he's put his time in on it.
Incredible person and another a very pillar in the community for Hilton Head.
And good fisherman, too. Good charter boat. Another good charter boat
Amazing.
captain out there. So,
Amazing.
what a great community.
So
That's
anyhow,
awesome.
that's been a fun thing.
How many years at Redfish have you been playing now?
I've been playing with him like I think 6 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
every
been-
Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday night, Redfish, come check it out because
Make reservations.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you
Gotta have a good table.
It's not easy to get in there.
It's not for me, but to hear John.
You're good.
Okay?
You got
Yeah.
the seat right there.
And,
And then going along, so your music career, fishing with friends, and then I've also known, and you've told stories, but you've got your radio spot that you do with Monty,
Yeah,
which
Monty,
is
yeah.
always awesome. I've been on it a few times. Feels like you get a trophy if you're on it.
we are.
You've done a couple, right?
Oh, that's me.
And then also you've done some pretty big fishing shows too. Like, can you talk about some of those where
Yeah.
some, like, if you know fishing shows and you have that gene in you, you know about saltwater Sundays, and there's a lot of great fishing shows out there, and you've been a part of some big ones.
I have, and again, I'm very fortunate. It's been amazing. But when I started working at Ford Plantation, which is now Ford Field and River Club, we had this pristine, incredible brackish water body of water. And through the Coconut Telegraph and a few phone calls from Raz Reed, he kind of lit it up. He's in that community. And he got these folks interested with coming over and fishing at Ford Field and River Club. The first person to come was Roland Martin.
Wow.
So that was fun.
Big name.
That's
Right.
really
Because
cool.
we had bass fishing down there, like it was incredible. It's changed a little. We still have good bass fishing, but
What was he like? Because is he everything you see
he's
on film?
Yeah,
Just wide open?
He's dialed in.
That's pretty
He's
cool.
dialed in. And then we were fortunate to have Flip Pallet come.
Oh, Godfather.
And the Godfather, and he filmed 2 episodes for Walker's Cay Chronicles there.
Oh, wow.
And it was right when he started using Hells Bay boats.
Yeah.
So we had the Hells Bay right there in the lake.
Oh, wow.
And,
He's still with them, too.
He's still with them.
Yeah.
Just what an incredible person, and his wife was there, and their whole crew, just amazing guys. And I tell you what, it's amazing is how long, when you see these shows, how long these things take. I mean, you're watching it for 25 minutes,
Right.
22
Know
minutes.
how much is behind it.
And everybody that filmed or I've been involved with is okay. We got a 2 or 3 day thing, and then they put it all together. But then we did a
I know one real quick. Jimmy Houston.
Jimmy Houston. Yeah, he was amazing.
He reminds me of you because
Yeah.
I watch him. He's got like his deer and stuff over in his Oklahoma plantation. And he's just a cool guy like you and real fishy,
He's
dude.
amazing, man. I tell you, I've never seen anybody as good with a spinner bait and a bait casting reel as that guy. It's just like
Second nature.
Yeah, it's second nature.
That's
And
awesome.
he can tell a story. He can do anything, but he can tie a knot while he's casting a spinner bait. But he did. We caught a bunch of fish on the spinner baits down there. Then we went into Lake Clara. That's the lake that I was telling you about, and it's a brackish water lake. So it has saltwater species and freshwater species. And we drove up there to look, and there was a gentleman standing on the bank, and he caught a bass, and then he caught a crappie, then he caught a flounder. And Jimmy says, "We're fishing here." So he was dialed in. He didn't want to leave that place, but pretty special. Got another show through Raz, and y'all know him because of his very famous podcast, the job he's doing, Andy Mill,
Oh yeah.
came down.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he is, boy,
World record
you
holder
talk
and-
about an incredible angler and storyteller. I mean, he's amazing. And then
He just saw, and I just to add on that, he's very technical on stuff. Where
oh yeah,
I mean, he was showing how he knows how much pressure. He's caught so many tarpon
yeah.
down there in all the tournaments that
He's the
been in.
tarpon king.
Yeah, like he showed one time on TV where he could pull the rod and it was a 10-pound weight. He knew exactly where that tippet was.
Sure.
That's the small details sometimes I miss.
There is all
They're
top
pretty
of it,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, yeah. When you mention tarpon in Florida, and especially on of course, the fly, it's Andy Mill, hands down. You know, and he was a Olympic downhill racer.
Oh yeah, Limp.
You know, at one time, and
That's what he was known for. But
Yeah.
now he's known for
yeah,
all his fishing records,
it's
basically.
unbelievable. And but later on, I got to do a show with John Brownlee. It was a saltwater sportsman show, and we did a tarpon show.
Successful one.
Yeah, we got lucky. We got lucky on that one.
There's no luck.
There's a lot of pressure. Let me tell you, when you do these shows, you eat a few Rolaids, because you don't know when you go out. You know,
Well, I mean, you got
thinking, oh
yeah.
my gosh, you know.
I mean, the other thing is too is like how'd they find you? I mean, you just named probably 5 of the top fishermen in the world that we've all grown up with. So how'd they find you?
Well, you know, it was all kind of word of mouth kind of thing.
Your career had been out there, basically.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, Raz was a big part of that. You know, he's an amazing person. That's a whole different chapter in this thing. He taught me how to fly fish, and he's an amazing world record holder.
Raz Reed.
Raz Reed,
You don't know who
yeah.
he's talking about,
And then some of it happened because Bass Pro knew that we had this really premium bass lake right there, so they turned a couple of their bass people onto that. And it's been amazing. I'll tell you what was funny when we filmed the last one with John Brownlee. So Drew, my son, Captain Drew, was one of the camera boats. So he's off in the distance, and of course, since I'm the one that's got John, I'm the focus, right? Well, we all fished, and
Oh, he's fishing in the camera boat too?
he's fishing in the camera boat.
That's awesome.
So I'd be fishing, and we'd be looking and waiting for the bite, and I'd hear Drew go, "I got another one on," you know, and I was like, "Golly, he's killing me," you know, and I told John Brownlee, I said, "Really, you guys need to get over there with Captain Drew."
Y'all tarpon fishing?
Yeah, we're tarpon
Oh,
fishing.
dude, that's awesome.
And one time we actually both hooked up about the same time, and but the camera was facing another way towards the river. That's where you could see the fish that John had on, and here's Drew slipping by our side, you know, with another fish hooked up. You know, it was so funny.
That's
But
awesome.
it was a fun thing to do, and you know, I'd like to say I'm fortunate, blessed to be able to meet all those guys,
Yeah.
and you really learn about you know how you do what they go through. As far as
production side and all
production
that
side.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time.
Did you watch like Flip Pallet reminds me also kind of like you where he's pretty natural. He kind of gets a feel and incredible obviously with the fly. What'd you learn from any of those guys? Besides the production stuff like fishing wise, did
Yeah.
you pick anything up from
Oh
them?
no, I did. I think you know, listening to their stories, watching their techniques, and while you're fishing, you got a lot of time. So they're telling you about all these other places that they fished. You're learning about places that you never had, you know, any idea that other people fished and stuff. So just learning their techniques and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you know, Andy Mill has a couple cool you know, techniques for tarpon that he was telling me about, and it's pretty cool.
That
I've
is
been
cool.
it's just been a while listening to all these guys. But Jimmy Houston, he's like
I
dialed in.
saw that
He
episode.
kissed every fish, just like it didn't matter if the camera was rolling or
You're
not.
just going for
He
it.
still
Wide
kissed 'em.
open.
Oh,
Wide
my gosh.
open. And you know one thing, he's a big pecan farmer.
Really?
Yeah.
In Oklahoma
In
there?
between fish, he's on his phone talking to you know, his guys back in Oklahoma, you know.
What is it with you legends?
I know.
Your blueberries, your
Yeah.
pecan. They always,
Farmers.
yeah, I gotta go get a field or something. Or go ahead.
And start going.
Listen, full disclosure on that
Yeah.
one with John. What was it?
Brownlee.
Yeah, the tarpon.
Yeah.
So that was, I saw your Jimmy Houston one, but that one when the computer came out and you could replay things over and over on the internet.
I know what you're gonna say.
I kept looking into your background and exactly what you were doing,
Yeah.
and trying to put it all together that time. And that was like, he's doing it right here. But how many days did it take you to get? I think you had 2 or 3
I
tarpon
think
on
we,
that show.
yeah,
basically.
we fished 3 days, I think.
Yeah.
On that show.
That's
Is that the one with
awesome.
the yellowfin and all that?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's
Yellowfin Bay Boat. He's sponsored by Yellowfin, and you know the day after we filmed those 3 shows, it's so, you know, we were so lucky because it started blowing northeast like 25 knots the next day, and I was like,
shut it down,
thank you, Lord.
right?
Yeah. So, but really cool, man. I've been so fortunate to meet all those guys, and it's been amazing.
That's awesome.
It's been amazing, you know.
All right, so you told it yesterday. You were on film, the old banana story. Come on,
yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
tell them because it's a good one. I was trying to tell Lee.
Now
the
I was
story this
singing.
morning.
I was singing Raz's attributes a little while ago. You know,
He's gonna be mad about
It's
it.
gonna go down a little
he
bit.
is the guru, the fly guru. But we were filming a little TV show on catching cobia. So Raz had the fly rod out, and I had a spinning rod with a live bait on it. We were in the Broad River. We got it going on. It's slick, calm, it's perfect. You could see a fin from 100 yards away. There's hardly anybody out there. And the tide's just trickling in, and this big fin pops up, and he's coming at us, man. It's just like textbook. Got it on film. Everybody's happy. I had the bait out, threw it. Now we were using, since we were filming, I had 3 treble hooks in the bait. You know,
You want to stick him?
just want to get a fish
Yeah,
on film.
camera, right?
You know.
Yeah.
So it's about a 50-pound fish. Threw it out there. He eats it. He runs. Man, it took like 25 minutes. We fought that fish. You know, in and out. We could see him come. See him down deep. Then he comes up top. And this is a nice fish. We're going through all the stuff. You know, trying to build up,
Filming, right? It's
build up
happening,
the
right?
catch. I can't wait to see it. And we get him up to the surface. He opens his mouth, and this bait just goes poof, out of his mouth with all 3 treble hooks still in it. And I went, wait a minute. We just fought him for like 25 minutes. The bait's still on
He
the
was
hook.
stuck.
He's just holding on to it.
I don't know. I still don't know. But I know why we lost it, and I'll tell you that in a minute. So we're fighting it. So I'm like going, guys, I've never seen this before. Well, the fish was still up, and I said, I'm going to try it. I didn't rebait. I threw the same bait out there. It splashed in front. He ate it again. The same crush. This thing looked like somebody ran it over with a truck. You know, but the hooks were still good. He slurped that thing up again, or she did. It was a big female. And fought it for like another 15 minutes.
God.
So I'm like, yeah, you know. Raz is going, yeah, this is great. We can't wait to get one on the fly. Fish comes up the top, poof, spits the bait out again. This time the bait's like hooked in the tail, you know, and all the other treble hooks are out of it. And I'm like, okay. Never seen that before, you know. I'm trying to keep my cool, you know.
Sweating.
Yeah. And now the tide's trying to change. You know when the tide changes in the Broad River,
Ah.
the wind picks up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that fish went into one of those big rafts of marsh grass.
Oh.
You could see him under there. You couldn't cast him.
Oh God, the big rafts.
And
that
then
stuff.
it was just over. And
Oh.
I was like so bummed. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And the camera guy was like, oh my gosh. We got nothing, the wind's picking up. Spent the whole day doing that. So anyhow, we're driving back to the dock, and Raz is going, oh, I'm a little hungry here. Anybody want some fruit? You know, and I got enough bananas for everybody. And I looked at him and I said, what are you doing? He goes, his classic line was, he goes, oh, that doesn't make any difference. That's not bad luck. I said, look what just happened to us. It's not bad luck. What do you call that? It was the worst luck.
He didn't have one banana. He had bananas
like
for
that one
It was
for
literally
everybody.
just us. 3
Yeah.
trebles twice.
Yeah. So you don't think that already hooked fish, you know, got off, a couple times.
And then the wind kicks up, and
Then the
it's just
wind kicks
over.
up.
It's just demoralizing.
And
But have a
that's-
banana.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
a refreshing. Enjoy.
it's the forbidden fruit.
It really, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, some guys are like Raz, doesn't bother him. Chip Michael Love, he
Doesn't bother.
doesn't bother. Me, it bothers me. We had a conversation. We could probably talk about
Yeah,
that.
we could do a whole thing.
And it's funny because when people are on your boat and they've got a banana and
You're like stressed.
you like got to get rid of it, and they look at you like you got 3 heads. You're like,
Yeah.
no, I'll give you $5 for your banana. Get it off because it's going to ruin our trip.
Well, then people always ask me, they say, well, why is a banana bad luck?
Okay.
So I've been asking that for years, but I know it's bad luck. I don't have to have it proved to me, but anyhow, so the only thing that made sense, and this makes sense, so when the old sailing ships, you used to sail through the West Indies and the Bahamas, they used to have to pick up fruit. Because they needed fruit, because they get scurvy for lack of vitamin C, so they picked up oranges and all that kind of stuff. But you know how fast bananas ripen.
Yeah.
So if they got
Yep.
bananas,
It ripens your fruit.
it would
Yeah.
ripen everything
That's
else.
what I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to
So-
hear that's what
so-
you said.
I'm glad I've been telling that
Yeah.
story the right way.
Yeah, I said that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
if they didn't like you, they would take your cargo and put it next to the bananas. That's what I heard. That's why it was bad luck, because if they wanted to,
Ah,
if they didn't want you to take your cargo, they put it next to the, like, whatever it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
and those bananas will hyper ripen your,
Yeah.
so it was bad luck.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a couple other stories, but
yeah. But that's
Listen.
our story we're sticking to.
absolutely.
That's a
Sold
good-
2,000 people that last year. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Watch this year, you'll have everybody who goes out with them bring a banana just
Yeah.
to mess with you.
Half of Ohio is telling people that's
That's
all.
right.
Oh man, well thank you for those. Now let's switch a little gears.
Yeah.
We touched on the Mariculture Center a little
Oh,
bit.
Yeah.
We touched on our fishery. Thomas and I were just out there Wednesday. You go to some spots and you have an epic day, and sometimes you're wondering if it was just me or is there, what do we got going on out there?
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen this fishery. Oh, and one incredible stat. Tell the folks about how Winter Redfish started.
I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's pretty
yeah, this
cool.
is pretty cool. And, you know, it's amazing. So Raz and I got this phone call about 3 days in a row from our friend Jimmy Reese. Jimmy used to be the manager at Hudson's.
Captain Jimmy.
He's a fishing guy.
Yep.
And Jimmy had a little John boat, like a 14-foot John boat with a broken trolling motor on the front, and they called it Cleopatra. And so he was over in the Horseshoe, which is in Skull Creek. We all know where that is. In the middle of winter, January, and he's going, guys, I am seeing like hundreds of redfish over here pushing, and nobody ever fished. This is, I'm talking, you know, like early 80s, maybe.
Just because everybody put the boats
They
away
put their
and they were
boats
done
away.
with it. I gotcha.
Yeah, they put their boats away. It was too cold.
Yep.
That was always it. It's too cold. You know what the thing was when you talk to people? They said, "Oh, the redfish are going deep."
Oh.
Well, there was the opposite.
Yeah,
They were
going
going shallow because
yeah.
the dolphin were busting them. They
Uh-huh.
couldn't go deep because they'd have to get eaten. They'd get eaten.
Makes sense because they probably weren't. People weren't going back that shallow either.
Yeah,
probably back
no,
then,
they
right?
weren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So Jimmy kept calling us. So we were. It was kind of like, did Jimmy call you? He keeps saying these redfish. Do you think we ought to go? And so like Raz, let's give him a couple more days, you know.
So,
Then finally, Jimmy called and he goes, I tell you what, if you guys don't get out here, this is like, you're going to miss it. So we go out, and I mean, I caught my first red on the fly with
wow.
him. I think Raz might have caught his first one out of the Cleopatra too.
Wow.
And it was a huge eye opener. And I think the eye opener was like any fishery, you go, okay, this is a fluke. Are they going to be there next week, next month? The bigger question, will they be there next year? And then everything started to pattern itself like, oh yeah, you're here next week, they're here next month. And then when it got warm, we couldn't see them. The water got too warm. Then it changed. The fish would go up in the grass. You couldn't see them too well on the flats, but they created a fishery for November, December, January, March, February, March. So it was a great fishery. So Raz starts calling around to all these other places and said, hey, listen, we're seeing redfish here in the Shallows, including Charleston. We're seeing redfish here in like a foot of water in the winter. And they're like, you're kidding. So they started going out and looking.
Up in Charleston,
Yeah,
right?
Charleston, and they started finding them. So here we go. Here we
Wow.
go. The birth of a new fishery. Just
Jimmy Reese. Cleopatra.
Cleopatra.
That is an
amazing.
incredible story.
It is
That's
amazing.
like one of the best ways to catch redfish. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unreal. You see the whole thing play out.
And you know, I think
Yeah,
he was
should have
back
been
there.
more people here during
Yeah.
that time to experience.
I mean,
it.
that's like probably one of my favorite ways.
Me too.
I mean, you're like, I want to catch that one.
Yeah.
You know?
And then sometimes
Yeah.
they'll say later,
Yeah.
they'll go the other way.
Yeah.
And that's still you know, it's just amazing what's happened in that fishery, you know. And if you want to see a wide variety of redfish lures, come in here to Southern Draw.
Oh, there
He's
you go.
got spoons, he's got the baits, and if you think one's gonna catch them, you better not buy one, you better buy five, because it's a different color.
Are you catching fishermen or are we catching
Yeah.
redfish in here? 'Cause
Yeah.
I want every color there is.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Anyhow.
with that, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you? So from that, to when you saw those back in what 80s, mid 80s,
Yeah.
we'll say, what's going on now? What
Okay.
do you think's going on?
Well,
Because you've seen the full
yeah.
circle of stuff.
Yeah, so when I started fishing, two things. I didn't catch that many reds consistently. Now there could have been two things. It could have been, you know, Fuzzy the rookie guide. There was part of that. But we, you know, even when we got into fish, we never saw. There were certain sizes we didn't see. We didn't see those. We saw small ones like up to like maybe 18 inches, and then the whole fishery was missing the, you know, the 20 to 27, 28 inch fish.
That's interesting.
You know, and then in the fall, nobody ever fished for redfish, the big bull reds until the fall, and they fished for them mostly off the beach.
Were they around back then too?
Yeah, but nothing like they are now. I mean,
Right.
to me, it's one of the biggest success stories for South Carolina. Here we have pressure on these fish, and the fishing has gone better. Now, what's done that? A couple things, and I was talking to Erin Levesque with Waddell Mariculture Center. She's the director there. The Mariculture Center, a lot of people don't realize this, there's only one Mariculture Center on the whole East Coast
Wow.
of the United States. And it's right here in Bluffton.
Wow.
It's 5 minutes from here.
It's like a hatchery, basically.
Yeah,
Right?
so they
Right.
do research on on game fish and shellfish species, and they're funded by several universities and by the state, by DNR. And they've been lucky. Al Stokes was the first director, just an amazing guy. And so they do research on these game fish, and they do a lot of enough research where they're able to produce them in a laboratory situation in their hatchery there, and then restock them. But they're not doing that with just any fish. They don't grab a redfish from here or a cobia from here. They grab them all out of the area. Like all the cobia come out of the Broad River.
They're imprinted into those.
They're well.
Isn't it like a subspecies?
They
Yeah.
figured out it's actually a total genetic. You know, it's its own genetics right there. It's different. They've tested. It's totally different from the ones offshore.
That's so
So
interesting.
the ones we're catching in here are not the same.
It's pretty much the fish, like you said, are imprinted in this inshore water, and most of them stay.
And like a salmon will come back and
Yeah.
spawn
Yeah.
almost into May instead of different times. But
So
Okay.
they've been researching this for a long time. So they're very careful about only taking the fish that are specific to that body of water. Same with redfish. I know they've done a little work with Georgia in the past, but they don't take redfish from Georgia and stock them in South Carolina waters, vice versa. It's got all the brood stock's got to come from one area. I don't think they work with Georgia anymore, but they're very careful about that. And I think hats off to them for what they've done. It's really, I tell you what, folks, around here, we have to take our hats off to what they've done, because, you know, you were asking me, and we were talking about the fishery going up. It's really because I think of what all they've done.
wow.
And because like this year, or last year, 2022, they stocked 2 million redfish in the state of South Carolina.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And what if they don't just send the little ones? They probably grow them up a little. before
Well,
throw
they
'em out
no,
there.
they're small, but they have a quick growth rate. Redfish, once they get to a couple of inches, they grow an inch a month.
Mm.
So you know that's pretty amazing. You know, in the imprint and on the areas, you guys know that redfish stay
Yeah.
right in that same estuary
spot.
until they get to be adults. And the other thing that they're doing is cobia right now. They stocked 86,000 cobia back into Broad River last
Wow.
year. So
That's
it's
fantastic.
it's amazing. So they do tours over there too. You can go and see, and you can of course donate some money to them, which is a good.
Well, I think we
Wow,
should.
that's a good way of
you,
spending money.
you put a different equation onto it, or a key to it. There's going to be more fishing here. We want to build the industry. We also want to have success and protect our
Sure.
fishery. But it sounds like what they're doing though is keeping the numbers high with the high pressure too. So it's kind of a good balance.
Yeah, it's a good balance, but you know what South Carolina DNR has done? They've jumped in front of this whole thing with the new restrictions on creel limits and size limits.
Yeah.
So now we got a 2 redfish per person limit, but only 6 per boat limit.
Yeah.
Where back when I started, you could catch 200 if you were sitting in the same spot. And just keep, there was no limits, there was no size limits or anything like that. So, and Erin reiterated that too when I talked to her. So she said, yeah, the limits that we're putting on these fish has really helped. Now, I'm down in Georgia right now, working at Ford Field and River Club. They're having a big discussion in Georgia right now, where their per person limit on redfish is 5 a person.
Wow.
And so if there's 6 people on the boat, they catch 30 reds.
That could decimate a whole
So
school.
they're-
Yeah, that's a.
So
That's a
they're
school. It's a lot.
they're having this discussion right now, and so hopefully, you know, and I keep telling those guys, you know, it's working here, and I tell you what I like about it as being a guide, and you guys probably do too. If somebody wants to eat redfish, you feel good when you come back to the dock and you say, hey, I caught my limit. You know?
Oh, because
So-
it's not as a big of a limit.
So you're not filling the cooler up. You're getting maybe 4 fish, but then we're all really good. I know you are. I am. John is. Also, Captain Kai is really good at it. A lot of guys are good at it. Hey, listen, if you want one to eat, we'd be glad to keep it, but we really need to let these fish go.
And we're trying to educate
Yeah.
these people too, which
Tell
is
them
good.
the story, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then Erin also said that they're working on flounder right now, on southern flounder, but it's a process. They're doing. She said it's probably about. They've been working on it a couple of years, probably about 6 years away.
I don't know much about the flounder. I mean, I know it went up to 16, right? Which is a pretty
Yeah,
good sized
Size is
flounder.
going up and the number's going
Going
down.
down.
Why is that though?
There's not
Pressure.
many. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, you could go out and get like, I think it was 40 flounder.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you could do it. I mean, you still could do it, but like,
Yeah.
they're getting smaller. But now I've noticed since they've changed the size limit, you're seeing more
Seeing more fish.
quality fish.
Gotcha.
And you know what?
And shorts.
Yeah.
In our area, if something like that fishery or cobia fishery seems too good to be true, it is, because it's going to fall out eventually with overpressure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but hats off to what they've done. They did a lot of shrimp research over there on shrimp farming. They do everything, a lot of different shellfish, and that's really been an incredible thing for the state of South Carolina, especially for us right here.
Well, I mean, not only them, but I'll go on a limb too. I think our DNR,
Yeah.
they've got ahead of some stuff. Even, and it's amazing. Captain Mark Pincus told me one time, things will repair itself. The water will repair itself to a certain point. We have to give it a chance to.
Right.
But even that year when they shut down or did the different times for cobia, we saw a lot more shorts the next year that
Sure.
were
Oh, yeah.
going to be the ones,
Yeah.
Sure.
growing up. Maybe they were males and seeing some bigger females, but nothing like, what was it, back in the day? I used to see pictures of, well, Clarkie's got the biggest one, right? Or one of them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, 89, 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Cobia,
yeah.
big females of the
Yeah,
day.
Robbie Marus, they
Yeah.
got a huge one, and there used to be some monsters out there, but the monsters, everybody likes to keep the big ones. The big ones are all
The female.
females, but it's hard, as you guys know, it's hard to get a cobia in a boat and release it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
fish.
yeah.
It's really tough.
It's
I
a
mean,
trophy fish
yeah.
and it's delicious and everything else.
and
Yeah.
they beat you up. They beat themselves up when you try to do that.
There's no good way to I'm in the
Now-
net with them.
I will tell you this story. So this guy told me one time, he said, have you tried the sleeper hole on the cobia? He said,
Like Jimmy Fly Snooker or
and this
something?
is like, yeah, okay, you try it and I'll film you, okay?
Heck no.
So you get a cobia, I did try it once, and you fold the pec fins back, okay? It's laying on the deck of the boat. You're straddling it, okay?
What about the horns that come out?
Heads away from you?
Heads away from you.
Okay.
And you pull the dorsal fins back to the body, and yeah, you kind of, you know, squat down over it so it can't move too much, and then somebody takes the hook out. Well, the problem is if the fish gets jostled when you're doing that and you kind of let go of one of the fins, guess what? You're straddling the cobia.
Yeah.
There's going to be some damage
That's
done.
a violent
You know,
fish.
that's like, you know, you got to watch out quick. So one of those, and I said, no, you know what? It's not a good move.
No, I don't think
You know,
I don't think
just about did a sleeper hold on me.
I'm gonna hold
The
off. On that.
sleeper hold.
I'm gonna hold off on
What's
that.
wrong, John? You think I was sleeper holding a 50-pounder.
Sleeper hold.
No,
Anyhow.
I will film it if that's the case.
But that I did try it. Somebody told me about it. And
How'd it go?
it didn't go good.
Well, you can
It didn't go
imagine.
good.
So I guess in conclusion, you feel good about what's going on. You feel good about the captains, the
Yeah,
community,
yeah.
and the fishery. And I know we could talk about hunting too, but we'll keep it at this
Yeah.
at least tonight and stuff. So you're optimistic
Yeah, I
and
am.
happy the way that it's progressed
I
over
think,
the years.
yeah, and I think Hilton Head Sport Fishing Club, Dave
Yeah.
Harder, done an amazing job with great guest speakers and bringing people in. Like you said, the Hilton Head Reef community, the DNR with all the reefs that
Yeah.
we've had,
Yep.
they've done a great job. They're still putting stuff down there. That's been a big. I don't have to make my own reefs anymore.
Yeah, those are other
Yeah.
stories. in
That's
this.
other stories. Yeah,
But that's great.
But that's been really good. I think we still, you know, we need to keep our eye on the ball and see, you know, when something gets a little out of whack, we just need to be more vocal about it.
Yeah.
Because you know, I think, but you know, the trout fishery looks pretty good this year again. I don't think it's ever been as strong as you guys were doing great on this.
There's some big trout out
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
I think
that's another
good, too.
one.
The big ones been putting those back too.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
It's like you said. It's hard to tell yourself like put the big one back.
Right, because that's the big
Yeah,
meal, right? And they're delicious. I mean,
There's female and male, but most of the big ones are.
I think we're all united, and it sounds like, and we know most of the guys around here that
Yeah.
we're doing that spiel to people, like,
Right.
hey, we love it. We'll take one or two for
Right.
you. Trout's a little easier to take because there's a little bit more of them.
Yeah.
Wish we could get some bigger flounder on a more consistent basis.
Sure.
But it'll come back around. So no,
Yeah.
we're educating people too on, you know.
Mhm.
A lot of people fall in love with the water just as much as we do. We just get
Right.
a chance to be on it every single day, which is nice.
You know, another couple fisheries like Spanish came back pretty good.
Yep.
You know, it used to be everywhere, but came back pretty good the last couple of years. King mackerel had a real dip. You know, like like maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Like 2000, just before 2008 when they're doing all
Yeah.
the king tournaments.
Well,
and
you
King
know,
was big
the
then.
kings were big, the tournaments were big, and all of a
Big
sudden
money.
the numbers went down.
Yep.
The participation went down, and because of that, probably the Kings have gone back up. Mark Pincus does those great tournaments and stuff like that. So
And
that's-
very conscious, even with the tournament,
Yeah.
about what's killed and what's not, which is
so
very
that's been
good
a
for
guess.
that.
That's been really.
What
good.
about the red snapper? Are they always that thick?
Yeah, you know
The whole endangered story there.
I used to work with John Jameson on a commercial snapper boat, and we'd stay out for a week at a time, you know, and
Get the quota.
yeah, well, we'd try, you know, but there was a lot of big sow snapper then, a lot of vermilions, but you know, overfishing, as we've seen, can produce, you know, you're taking a lot of the females. But I really think in this case, with a lot of this is South Atlantic Fisheries federal, I think that a lot of this stuff is overdone. I think that we ought to have more days. People are catching more fish, a lot of smaller fish too that they can keep, and I think they ought to increase the days.
It's just like, I think it's, and I'm not a biologist, obviously,
Yeah.
but from what I hear too on some of these places where you catch other things, they're decimating the population of other fish
Yeah.
because there's so many red snapper. We're not calling enough
Oh, they're eating.
They're
I've
eating
heard
everything
that.
else, the grouper, the black sea bass, and
Hey,
everything else. So
yeah,
we need to take a few out to balance off a success story,
Yeah,
I guess.
And you know, I fished with my buddy Corbett Davis down in Pensacola, and we were fishing for snapper, and this is amazing. So this is a small sidebar, but so we were on a big sport fishing boat looking for bottom fish, and the captain said, when we stop the engines, get the baits down right away. He said, we got about 10 minutes.
What?
And I was thinking sharks first.
Right.
He said, no, the dolphins listen to the engine noise.
Oh.
They're so in tune. There's so many people bottom fishing in Destin, Pensacola, Panama City area, and then we're offshore. And all of a sudden, these spinner dolphins, when we stop the boat, they're starting to greyhound in,
All over you.
and you can catch a couple fish, and then you can sit there and watch, and you'll get a fish about 15 feet from the bottom of the boat. They'll grab it and rip it off your line. The other ones, and then the
I hate to
captain-
laugh. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah, people
But
always
we
say
know
that on charters, like, oh, the dolphins. Is that not happening here because we have so many mullet and stuff? Or
Yeah, there's a lot of other food, but my point is like the DNR is trying to protect them by having us release them.
Right.
But
The dolphin are-
we're trying to one up Mother Nature.
Right.
But then Mother Nature's coming back and say, oh yeah, you can release all you want.
And the tax man's
We're
down
gonna
there
eat 'em.
too,
Mother
right?
Nature
Yeah.
doesn't
They're
follow
eating, they're
around.
eating them down
Yeah.
there too as soon as they go back down.
So
to the
there's a
bottom.
lot of loss that's going on.
Yeah.
And so I think the snapper thing, I wish they'd up the number of days. It's kind of ridiculous, and change the creel and the size limits.
Yeah.
And I think people will respect that, and I think that we need to do that. I think everybody is frustrated with that. That's one fishery, but that's
And for years now they've
I mean,
been
you can-
frustrated.
and that's feds.
Yeah.
That's the feds. That's not SCDNR.
And there is one, I will say this too, there's one, we talk about preserving and what we can do better for redfish
Yeah.
or whatever, but we have to be careful because once we give something up, we're probably not going to get it back for the right
There you
reasons.
go. Yeah.
Now, that's
Right.
a good argument there. So we have to be on the front lines to manage basically ourselves,
Yeah.
it sounds like, and then to have the Mariculture Center and other things
Yeah,
fall
yeah.
in place. So.
And It's
Fantastic.
interesting how everything kind of meshes together, and
Yeah.
what we learn as we go on, and I tell you what, you guys know too, the Low Country has so much bounty with
Oh.
the shellfish and finfish and the seasons and the tides.
Like in the creeks in the summertime, I mean, the mullet, the croakers, I mean, there's so much food out there. And that's your biggest, I always say when I get on the boat, just to protect myself in case the bite's not good. I was saying, the biggest competition aren't the other boats, it's what's in this water. They've got
Yeah.
enough food to, why are they going to bother to eat your stuff when you can sit and
Yeah.
have a
Dude,
buffet all the
there's
time?
so much life in those creeks in the summer.
Absolutely.
Or like
Yeah.
the pogies. Have the pogies always been
Menhaden,
like
yeah.
that? Yeah. Is it always been like that?
It's kind of off and on.
I mean, some years
Yeah.
it's great. Last year was phenomenal. 2 years ago, I couldn't
Yeah.
catch them.
First year of COVID, they didn't show
Yeah,
up
I know.
all summer, and they finally showed up in front of Hudson's, and that was
Yeah.
all we saw. Last year, I go
Fantastic.
load up. I mean, so that's pretty cool.
Here's another interesting little fact. So when years ago, we were coming out of Harbortown or South Beach running offshore, you'd see, and there'd be these big, huge commercial factory ships out there, right outside the 3-mile limit.
Really?
And those were the Menhaden
Oh, the
purse
seine.
seiners.
Yeah.
For the fertilizer and cat food and all
And let
that
me
stuff?
tell you, they would, if had spotter planes, they had everything.
Oh,
And they'd
wow.
set a huge purse seine out there. 3 or 4 boats would man that net, and they'd take everything.
Oh.
Finally, they were right on the state limit line. The state finally said, you can't do it here. You got to go way offshore. Well, there's no Menhaden way offshore, so that was good. They left, but that's a big problem they're having in Virginia, North Carolina,
Up
with
north.
with the commercial Menhaden. It's used for fertilizer. If you take a vitamin E capsule,
Omega.
if you look on Omega,
Yeah.
it'll say fish oil, and then it's usually Menhaden oil. So
I thought I heard, I might be wrong, that it got a little more regulated because we weren't seeing the numbers of Hoagie's year,
Yeah.
a couple bad years, and I heard that there was stricter guidelines on that.
I think there are.
And I mean, I don't know if that's helped out or not, but it sure was a nice bait year this year, and you know how stressful that is for all of us.
Well, there was no mullet this year either. Like, I mean, you couldn't go buy a mullet anywhere.
Like-
I caught them. They came early, and then they kind of.
I would have sold you some.
I was still.
You can get them from Paul here. He's
I was
got them in
going
the
to.
freezer.
Come on out here.
Yeah.
Well, man, I don't know, man. This has been pretty awesome, and I know we could probably sit here and talk all night about. We're all
we
like,
could.
it's pretty awesome, and bottom of my heart, thanks for coming to do this. And
Hey,
this won't be the last time.
There you go. Thanks,
We
buddy.
love you, brother.
Hey, I
and
love you.
Thank you for
Hey,
starting this whole
Thomas,
thing.
man, you're the man. The
It's
new
awesome.
generation.
New
right?
generation. So,
Yeah.
Thomas, give the people where they can reach you on your new charter
Yeah, so
business.
I'm Hilton at Inshore Charters. You can follow me on Instagram or come ask Paul about me. Be around.
Right on. Captain
Yeah,
Fuzz, where can
yeah.
they find you?
Oh, they can find me usually in the blueberry field.
Working, baby.
And you can find me at Instagram, Captain John Werner. Thank you for doing this.
Hey.
Got to end it the same way you did last
All right,
time.
everybody.
Here we go.
Tide lines to you.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thanks.